For me, one of the most despicable parts of the complete hysteria and actually spreading of lies to damage Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, earlier this year.
Something deeply disturbing has just come to light, and it involves Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, late-night host Stephen Colbert, and a coordinated attack against Prince William and Princess Catherine. What seemed like a late-night joke has turned into something far more sinister.
Was by members of the Sussex Squad. And the Sussex Squad are the folk who back Harry and Meghan in the most vile ways online. I had exposed them as the biggest gang of internet trolls in online history. But one man who seemed to get away with his lies and his falsehoods was Stephen Colbert. He is the hard left US chat show host, Trump-hating, Harry and Meghan loving, who went on air when Catherine had received a cancer diagnosis and was undergoing treatment. She hadn't announced it publicly because she wanted her children to finish school before she did so. And he claimed that her disappearance from the public eye was in some way to do with a rumoured affair that William had had in the past. Now, the problem that I have with this, that it hasn't been looked into the links between Stephen Colbert and Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, because trust me, they are there. But before I talk about that, let's have a look at what Stephen Colbert actually said.
Here's something for those of you who are royal watchers, and I know you are Lewis. I am. I'm afraid I've got some troubling news about England's royal family. I know this is your life's passion, and I'm sorry. As we were talking about on this show yesterday, the kingdom has been all aflutter by the seeming disappearance of Kate Middleton. Well, now internet sleuths are guessing that Kate's absence may be related to her husband and the future king of England, William, having an affair. Oh, no. My heart goes out to poor Kate. Now let's ditch the hot goss. I am ready to spill the tea. Literally.
Now, Dr. Renee, you know from a medical perspective that when you've just been diagnosed with cancer, especially as a young mum, it's earth-shattering. Now, to have to try and tackle that diagnosis with your personal life being dragged through the mud. I mean, do you remember, Renee, the Sussex Squad were even spreading theories that Catherine was dead, that she had been abused or locked up by Prince William, that she'd somehow fled the marriage. I mean, this was actually something that spread completely into the mainstream, as ridiculous as that seems looking just a few months forward. However, my contention is that Stephen Colbert would not have gone on air and said that without the express approval in some way of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Remember, Prince Harry appeared on his show not all that long ago. They're in the same circles.
Get ready, because today we're unpacking the web of influence, hidden motives, and media manipulation that's been brewing behind the scenes. And yes, names will be named. Let's get into it. Let's rewind. When Princess Catherine quietly stepped back from public life earlier this year, it was for a heartbreaking reason. She was battling cancer privately, with her children still in school. Enter Stephen Colbert. On his show, he referenced internet rumours, suggesting that Catherine's absence was due to an alleged affair by Prince William.
I mean, and that in itself is the issue here, isn't it? Because regardless of what's happened between these family members, you know, Harry and William and Meghan and Kate, you would hope that anybody has the compassion that when somebody gets a cancer diagnosis to actually pull up the drawbridge as a family, come together and say, okay, even if where they're not going to support them or not be allowed to support them because they've all been so burned by them, that we won't actually throw any more oil onto this fire, and we will now step back, be quiet, and let this poor family deal with what is, as you rightly say, a devastating diagnosis for anyone, especially a young mother with very young children. And, you know, I thought as soon as she made that beautiful video where she told the world what was going on, because she was forced to, let's face it, she didn't want to make that video.
No.
I thought then that everything would stop, that everybody would leave her alone, and they didn't. That's the poison here.
Not only was this reckless, but it was also completely baseless. But here's the question. Why did Colbert say it? And why then? Why didn't the media call this out? When Catherine finally made her diagnosis public, there should have been massive apologies. Instead, crickets.
The thing is, Bernie, for Stephen Colbert to do something like that and then just for everyone to move on, not ask any questions about why he did that, what prompted that, I think just shows you it's another example of the mainstream media covering up for their pals.
Absolutely. And don't you just love free speech? I absolutely love free speech, because then you see people for who they are.
Good point.
And it means that you can look at that man and think, bad taste, wrong time, cruel, unnecessary. I'm not going to watch you anymore. And you're going to turn it off. And comedians, for example, have done that for decades, haven't they? There was, I can't remember what he's called. I turned him off as soon as he did it, making fun of Katie Price's son, who was terribly ill at the time.
Frankie Boyle.
Yeah, Frankie Boyle. You have the right to turn people off if you don't want to listen to them. And I agree with Renee. It was cruel and wrong. And the media and the establishment are never going to stop someone like that.
No, you've made such a critical point, actually. And I really do think this conversation should also show the left how we, wherever we're positioned on the political spectrum, whether people call it the right or, however people describe the conservative side of politics, none of us just now have called on Stephen Colbert to be cancelled, to lose his career, to be sacked. But trust me, if that had been a comedian on the right doing something equivalent, that is exactly what would have happened. And I think that is a critical difference here. I am absolutely saying what we should do is look at why Stephen Colbert did what he did. Was it prompted by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle? But no, we're not calling on him to be cancelled and expunged from society. And I think that does really show a critical difference between the two groups. Dr. Renee, though, would you say when you look at the year on the whole and you think about where Catherine and William have ended up, which is actually stronger than they were before? And I don't know if you've seen this sometimes, Renee, in your experience as a doctor, but it feels almost like the cancer has brought them together even more, and they are stronger as a family unit. They seem more in love than ever. And you contrast that to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, who don't even want to be seen in public together now.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's nothing like a serious illness being diagnosed than for the entire family to refocus on what's actually important in life. And sometimes in the melee of everything, people lose sight of that. We've all done it, haven't we? Mm-hmm. And suddenly refocus on the people around you. And you realise that time can be very short sometimes with no warning at all. Therefore, you need to actually bring it all back home and concentrate on that. One also never knows what goes on within a relationship. And I always say this, no one ever knows. So speculating from the outside is completely pointless. It's up to them what goes on in their relationship. And I think they've demonstrated that together they've come through what has been a pretty tough time, and always is for anyone. And they do, as you rightly say, look much stronger. And to me, they look like a happy couple with a loving family.
Yeah, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think Dr. Renee is so right there, Bernie. Catherine has totally changed as a result of that experience. I mean, you think about the video that she put out with her young family, for example, being very tactile with William. That's not something she would ever have considered doing before her cancer diagnosis. In fact, she did receive some criticism for it, actually, which I thought was completely unfair. But I think it's lovely for something positive to come out of this, which is she is prepared to show much more of who she really is with the public.
I'm sure that she feels incredibly insecure going back into the public eye. There were some incredibly unkind comments made about her looking old or not looking well. And it must make her feel, as I say, very insecure going back out into the public. And William is her rock, isn't he? He's clearly the person she turns to comfort her and give her confidence. And I like that she's being more tactile.
The mainstream press didn't retract, didn't investigate Colbert's source, and certainly didn't question Meghan or Harry. Because Catherine represents tradition, family, and quiet strength. Things the modern media often undermines. Meghan and Harry, on the other hand, are media darlings.
Do you, Dr. Renee?
Oh, I love it. It's real, isn't it? It's real people. You know, 100%, and we should see more. And I always remember Diana and Charles, if you think about it, the public would have adored them to be tactile. It's what they wanted to see.
Yeah, I actually loved this video. I really, really did. I thought it was one of the highlights of the year. And I know some people thought it was maybe a little bit too glossy,
No,
but
I
I
loved it.
disagree.
No, I loved it too. I loved
Yeah.
it. I thought it was beautiful. Why not? Everything's so bad. Everything's so difficult. It was a beautiful video. It was really well put together. But of course, you see, you can't, for the activists and the shills, you can't say you loved it. You can't say it's beautiful, because then you're a far-right nationalist. It's just crazy.
Yes, indeed.
Inciting love.
Inciting love.
Static love,
How
right?
terrible, how terrible. But as I say, I am going to keep on looking into the Sussex squad, because genuinely there is a huge hypocrisy here. I know we've spoken about it, Bernie, before, with the fact that Prince Harry is now connected to the Aspen Institute. The Aspen Institute is a completely globalist body which effectively wants to shut down free speech online. And all of these connections and all of his tentacles in terms of the media are something I'm going to keep looking into. And the fact that he is a part of the Aspen Institute, but he does not condemn the Sussex squad, who are the biggest gang of internet trolls in online history, is totally hypocritical.
And that's the real story here. This wasn't just a tasteless joke. It was psychological warfare, launched at a time when a young mother was fighting for her life. It was timed, targeted, and shamefully protected by a media that's forgotten its purpose. But we see through it. And the more people know the truth, the harder it becomes for manipulation to win. So stay sharp, stay informed, and most importantly, don't let the narrative be written for you.